Welcome back to Unplugged, Raising Resilience at Camp Alvernia. I'm Ben, the camp director, and I'm here with our assistant director, Badyr.
Hey.
Today we're going to be talking about the elephant in the room, which is screens, phones, and why kids desperately need a digital detox.
Yes, they do. Facts.
The anxious generation. In this book, Jonathan Haidt says that we have moved from a play-based childhood to a phone-based childhood. And if you read the book, one of the things that he says is that the result is basically a social atrophy. So kids have the desire to connect, but they've lost the strength and the ability to do it. At Alvernia, we counter that with our Franciscan roots. St. Francis believed in Fraternitas, or true Brotherhood. You can't build brotherhood through a screen. You actually have to be physically present with one another, right? So Badyr, you're a PE teacher in the city. You see this every day.
All day.
What is the biggest difference you see in how kids interact now compared to 10 years ago?
To be honest with you, I see one is going to be where they don't handle losing well. A lot of it is because a lot of the gameplay and the video games and even the short, small games that they play on their cell phones, it's immediate response. They get immediate feedback and they're not dealing with things in real time. Mm-hmm. Or they have to if you remember when we grew up, and again, I know I'm dating myself, but our video games were different, right? Where if we died on that third chance, we had to start from the beginning, right? So being able to deal with and just frustration. And don't get me wrong, there's been a couple Nintendo games I've lost my cool on. But just being able to get through it was tough. But being able to say, okay, I'm going to take a break, go back to it, and then try it again is very different than what it is now. There was no save games when I grew up. But at least in the classroom, what I'm seeing is a lot of short tempers, no patience. Mm-hmm. The rules, if they're too complicated, the kids just completely lose interest way too fast. So if you think of games that are single step, 2-step, even 3-step, they're okay with. Anything that involves 5, 6, 7, 8 rules, they're just not really interested in. Mm-hmm. You have your maybe 20%, 25% that are very much into team sports. Okay. But I would say the large majority, a good 40 to 50%, are just no, it's got to be super ease of entry. I need it to be dummy proof almost. Right. And I don't mean any disrespect to anybody or anybody's children, but it needs to be if I'm not all in, I don't really want to play that. They don't give it enough of a chance.
Yeah, and it makes sense that you mentioned the team sports, because if you're used to only communicating through headsets versus face-to-face, then it might be really intimidating to figure out, well, how do I get along and communicate with people
100%.
On the team, right?
So 100%, that 2D kind of it's just you and the screen. I know some people have the headsets and they talk, and then the level of trash talk and trolling gets kind of crazy. Right. But being able to do it, the proximity of when something's wrong, how do I deal with, hey, that's a foul in basketball, mm-hmm. right? And now we're in person, is this point of contention, and they don't know how to handle it. Some of them just melt down, or they'll throw a tantrum, or they'll do something that hurts their team. They'll throw the basketball, or whatever it is. They get frustrated really easily in those situations. And I think that in-person moment where coaches, teachers, people should really step in is so paramount. And I think we've definitely lost that.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have the mechanics of connection, so we're talking about eye contact, body language, being able to read those things, then it can be really difficult to understand what's happening around you. The phone is two-dimensional. Video games, despite great graphics, right, immersive graphics, it's also two-dimensional. You're not actually seeing the body language. You're not having eye contact, so you don't see how somebody's starting to feel or what's progressing. Suddenly, somebody does something, says something, it's unexpected, and maybe you yourself don't have the tools or the experience in how to understand or read the situation. So screens are definitely causing a disconnect. Right, so I can talk a little bit about the emotional side of this. So constant digital noise adds a ton to a kid's anxiety. So there's another book that I want to point out that we also love and read here, and that's Richard Louv's Last Child in the Woods. If you haven't read this, he refers to what he calls nature deficit disorder. One of the things that he says in this book is that unlike television or video games, nature doesn't steal time, it amplifies time. That aligns perfectly, I think, with the Franciscan love for nature. St. Francis saw the outdoors as a cathedral, right? So when we get kids off the phones and into the woods, we're actually giving them space to breathe and simply to be. And that's the ultimate cure for modern anxiety. The other thing that's kind of fun is, kids are reading books all year on screens nowadays. But at Alvernia, basically the woods and the fields and the harbor are the books that we get to study in the summer. Getting them off the phones is step one, but once they're unplugged, we have to teach them how to interact again. So Badyr, how do we actually coach real-world communication here at camp?
So number one has been able to identify those situations either before they happen or actually in the moment. So with like our activity staff, we actually tell them to have their back to the wall, right? To observe everything and to actually have the counselors involved as well. So whether it's starting with a counselor challenge to get the buy-in from the campers, to actually in the game where they're saying, oh, okay, I see this particular team is getting frustrated. Let's take a pause. Let's do a chat on the grass real quick. Hey, what's going right? Hey, what's going wrong? That's typically what we do here at camp. And we kind of coach the kids like, hey, obviously you're down 4 points. What could you be doing to do better? And we might give them, a set on 30 seconds, a minute on the side to come up with a different strategy to find success. We're also adapt the game. So let's just say, the other team has got some ringers, so to speak, right? We might adjust the goal. We might put something, hey, this team, because they all do travel soccer, we'll put 2 hula hoops in each side, and that's where they have to kick the soccer ball through. Like we'll make it, adaptations where necessary to kind of even the playing field. Or hey, we need 2 people from that team to join the other team, and vice versa, to even obviously make it an even playing game.
Yeah, I mean it makes sense too, because if everyone can participate, despite whatever level of interest or ability, then everyone can connect. And the truth is that connection is a muscle. So it's use it or lose it. So for these kids that are at home on screens and whatever, they're not doing the in-person connection. They get to do it here.
Yeah.
So think about it, just playing a basic game of capture the flag. You have to connect. You have to communicate. You can't text your teammate on the field.
In real time?
Right? No. So I know, Badyr, I remember we were talking about even just the JC that we had to coach on just the simple thing of the power of a handshake.
Oh, well,
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you remember that one?
Yeah, so the eye contact, right? So if I'm shaking your hand, I'm looking, I'm squaring my body to you, I'm making an eye contact. I find so many people, especially in class, when I'm like, hey, how are you? They're always looking down, the shoulders are slumped, the body language isn't there, but those are 21st century skills, right? So just being able to present myself in a way that you understand that I present confidence and that I know what I'm doing and how I'm going forward. So again, shaking that hand, eye contact, smiling, those go a really long way.
Absolutely. And the truth is, when kids know how to communicate clearly, conflicts actually decrease because the kids understand each other. It creates a much safer environment for everybody.
Right. So all these coaching points come right back to the core of our motto. Ben, I know sometimes we talk about, the social skills, the Alvernian way. We say it all the time, respect yourself, others, and the environment. But that pillar, the second one of respecting others, huge.
So the second pillar of our motto, the Alvernian way, is respect others. You can't respect someone if you don't acknowledge them. So a big part of what we do in even just our basic staff training is teaching the counselors how to model and how to coach and how to steer conversations, even something as simple as the conversations at the lunch table. Because sometimes kids don't know how to talk to each other or what to talk about, what's appropriate. The truth is, some of them are exposed to a lot more adult topics on the internet, and they start to talk about it and they don't know where the lines are. They don't know what they're saying, all sorts of wild things. So we have the opportunity also to be able to coach and kind of steer them to learn how to be respectful and how to be kind to each other. So the truth is that a screen-free summer camp is really kind of like a reset button for kids that have been living their school year on the screen. We give kids the space and the coaching that they need to remember how to connect in the real world.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're ready to get them moving and talking. I would say be well, let's get after it.
Peace and all good.